Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today, our members and leaders of the 4-H Kingdom Hoofbeats. I will let them introduce themselves.
Thank you, Scott. I'm Julie Jacobs, and I'm a leader for Kingdom Hoofbeats.
And I'm Sonia Kaler, and I'm also a leader of the Kingdom Hoofbeats.
I'm Jade Hopkins, and I'm a 4-H member. I'm Cassie Kaler, and I'm a 4-H member.
So what brings you here today?
Well, we have some concerns about the horse barns at the Orleans County Fairground, and we've spearheaded a fundraiser with the 4-Hers to earn the funds and with matching grants to get this project done.
Right. So what is your group all about?
So we're primarily a horse group, so we do a lot of like horse showing and stuff, but we do a lot of community service. You'll see the kids out and about doing stuff like Green Up Day, for instance. They get pony rides. We do big Christmas events and everything. So they're very focused on community service as much as their horses.
Right. And I know one of my nieces, great nieces, Lexi, who isn't with us today because she's too shy.
Yeah.
But she's a member of your
And she's
group.
not shy, but yes, she is a member.
Yes.
She is a member.
Yeah. So what are the barns like now?
So the conditions of the barns are really shabby. I mean, I wouldn't even be able to put a time on like when they were built, but they are literally coming apart, falling apart, like no doors on them. You can see like they're sinking into the ground. They have no real good footing. Roofs coming off and stuff. And this is a big safety hazard to
And you have
spectators.
You have an aerial view of them too.
We do. This one is taken from the interstate. When was this taken? Last
spring.
Last spring. So you can see it. So it's the 3 long barns right by the horse arena that are proven to be a big safety issue for spectators, exhibitors, and their horses.
So anybody can answer these questions. What are the barns used for? As in, are they used throughout the year? Are they just used during the Orleans County Fair, a.k.a. the Barton Fair?
They're actually used at multiple horse shows throughout the summer. There's gymkhanas once a month, and sometimes they will house their horses overnight in the stalls. There's usually some open horse shows, and people will put their horses in the stalls also. And then we have a 4-H clinic every June that multiple counties come together, and the kids do a Saturday of lessons, and then on Sunday they have a 4-H show. Right. So we have our horses there for 3 days.
Now tell me, this might sound like a dumb question because I haven't been able to have my niece explain it to me. What does Gymkhana stand for?
It's games on horseback. Like if you think about the barrel racers, pole bending, and stuff like that. And there's a big community up here that ride these Gymkhana events, and they're the fast and furious, going for money, buckles, and prizes. And those are once a month. Lexi participates in that.
I know she does. Yeah. So girls, when you go to these barns, what do you see?
That they're kind of falling apart and they're not really that safe. I don't know.
Same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how long they were built. Now, is this your group's is it only you who are taking part in refurbishing them, or do you
Yes.
own them?
We do not own them. The Orleans County Fairground, they own the buildings. We approached them last year because we had concerns about the shape of these barns and for our horses. And we approached them to take on this project to fundraise with the kids and raise money to rebuild them.
And are they playing a role at all?
Yep, they actually are willing to help out with some of the grants that they have received and put money towards our total that it's going to cost.
I've heard back when I was younger that people used to sleep there as well with their animals. Do they still?
Yes, sometimes when we're there, the girls will sleep. Well, we always tent there while we're there. We never leave the horses there on their own.
Oh. Do they sleep in the barns?
Sometimes the kids will be in
Sometimes
the
they do.
stalls. Yep.
Yeah.
And we always used to. I mean, I grew up in 4-H in the 80s, and we would sleep in the barns because we didn't have the big campers everyone has now. And we would just, get an empty stall and camp out for the weekend.
Yeah, I think Carissa and her family have decided they're going to hijack my mobile motorhome this year.
They're smart. They're smart.
And I think they don't want to lay in the hay or lay on the ground in a tent.
Yeah.
Do you know how much this is going to take to repair?
Yeah. We have an estimate. The concrete is about $47,000. The removal of the barns was about $11,000, and the building was going to cost about $131,000. So we have a total about $200,000 to build our new plan, which I'll actually show you. We've been working with a contractor that's been helping us plan. So we have a barn that going to have 40 stalls with a row on the outside on each side, with 10 stalls on each side, and then 10 on the inside. And this will also have a 20-foot alleyway that's going to provide the fairgrounds with indoor storage.
Right.
So that's a big thing for the fairgrounds and them working with us. And instead of using the same footprint of the existing barns, we wanted to be able to use this year-round so that the fairground could get ample storage out of it, because I know a lot of people with boats,
Right.
campers, et cetera, like to store there in the winter. And this would just help the fair's bottom line as well.
So you're taking down how many barns? 3?
3.
3 20 by 100 barns.
And you're replacing it with how many?
One large barn.
Right. And how many horses does it serve now?
It does serve 60 horses. We have 60 stalls, actually 59, because there's one that holds all the equipment, like the jumps and the
Right.
poles and stuff. And the barn that we have in plan is for 40 stalls.
Right.
Yeah, because the existing barns right now have 60 stalls, but they are not all usable.
Right.
It's nothing because they're in such a dilapidated state, it's nothing that you'd want to put your horse in. So a lot of those are not used. We're lucky if we can get 35 to 40 stalls out of them per show.
So when are you hoping to do this project?
Last year.
Last year.
Yeah.
And
Realistically, next year, by next year.
right. What kind of support have you had?
We've had some, so the idea is that we would like to go with sponsorships.
Right.
So we had come up with the idea as a team that there would be an option of stall sponsorships. And that would mean that would be $5,000, and the business would have their logo listed on the stall door, a metal sign, and stating that they were the sponsorship of that stall. The next option would be a large logo, which is $2,000, and then a small logo, which would be $1,000. And the large and the small logo is an idea that we kind of got from the Drift Dusters Snowmobile Club on their Founders Bridge.
Right,
They have
right.
that logo sign
Out
at
on
the end.
Yeah, on the Morgan Road?
That we would make that sign similar to that, and that they would that would be up as well.
Would be visible to all event goers and fair goers. And
Right. So the Barton, Orleans County Fair Board's on board.
Yep.
And have you started fundraising, or you just really started?
Yep, we just started. We have a few businesses that have already
Do you want-
allocated.
Do you want to share some of them, or would you rather not?
Not yet,
Okay.
not yet, because we do have a plan with advertising those businesses once they've,
Right. Are you getting pretty good support though?
seems to be, yep, so far.
Right.
I think the hard thing is getting the word out that we're doing this, and
Right. Now, what about you? Do you have questions? Do you want to bring the girls into this discussion, or any?
Cassie, why is it important to you as a rider? Why is it important to you to have new barns?
It's more of not having to worry about my horse and if, like, a safety for him and not having to worry if, like, he'll get out and
So Cassie and Jade do a lot of horse showing. So we're down there once or twice a month at different events.
Right.
And we need it to be safe for our kids and our animals. The other thing with that is we're trying to get more shows in to bring more business into the fair and in turn more business to our local communities.
Right. Yeah. In the there's always been a thought over the years that the fairgrounds is actually underutilized, just throughout, because there is the Orleans County Fair, and there's a few other events, but it's a big, beautiful area. So, so you're hoping for next year.
yeah.
Yep.
And we're hoping that after having these barns, that we can have more horse shows for our kids
Right.
in the local area.
Future generations.
I know some of the barns have had some work done on it, because I had a friend who worked on some of them. He said some of the electrical work in them has been replaced, but some of it, I'm sure there's some left that is, he said that back then it was just a horrible mess of wires. I don't know if that's the case with your barn.
I find that that's true. It's. I don't think it's always safe. There's just open wire coming out, and there's switches for each barn. So there's one switch for each barn, but all of that would need to be repaired. There's not the best visibility over there. There has been a lot of work done to the horse pulling ring and the dairy barns and the 4-H dairy barns, which are great. And the Fair Board has done like so much. There's a blacksmith shop there and stuff, but it's just got to come down to the horse arena now and start like truing those buildings up and making them something that, again, safe, valuable, pull more people in for more events.
Right. And there's, a lot of people don't understand there's a difference between old and historic. We're not getting historic.
No.
We're getting old.
Yes.
Are those buildings just old? They look just old. They don't look historic.
Yeah, they're old shed rows. There's no historic significance, I wouldn't believe, with it. Yeah. It's there's no real good footing. So everything's uneven.
Starting to cave a little
Starting
bit.
to cave in.
The roof, you can see the roof line. There's definitely a wave to the roof line now, and
Right. And back in an earlier time, even back when we were kids, that doesn't sound right. When did we get to the point when we started talking like old people?
I know. I'm still 20, Scott. I don't know about you.
If I stay away from cameras and mirrors, I'm still 35 until I realize I have two kids who are 37.
Yeah, there you go.
But the Orleans County Fair, especially before us, that used to be a big horse fair too.
Yeah.
They had real racers. So I don't know if it's fair to say, but the fair has been built for generations on, at least partially on the backs of horses.
Yes, sir. I believe it has. And I notice, growing up again, and probably you can attest to this as well, we were primarily an area of dairy farms.
Right.
And I remember personally, I was very blessed to grow up with horses and have them, but I knew everybody that had horses.
Right.
Well, since the farms have been broke up and, cut down and whatever, there's more horses in this area now. There's still the wonderful farms and everything, but there's a lot of horses and there's a lot of opportunities that we can bring to this area with horses for horse owners. And not just horse shows, but trainings
Right.
and different events.
Talking about horses at the fair, I've been blessed over the years interviewing people who actually arrived at the fairgrounds in horses, like the long now departed Roy Ingalls of Irisburg. He talked about, that was the way, it was a mode of transportation. In a lot of communities, like I have photos of Glover and I think Linden, they used to have their horse races right down Main Street, even in the
Nice.
winter. And
That's so cool.
yeah, and there's been quite a few people I've interviewed who horses just wasn't a hobby; it was their life.
It was their life, and now it's such a huge hobby and it's a growing industry. That like now, if you go to a horse show, excuse me, when you see the trailers pull in, they're nice trailers. They're big. Those trailers, outvalue the horses. Like, I mean, you got a $500 horse and a $30,000 trailer.
Yeah, I was going to say it probably outvalues all my cars.
And then the trucks, you pull them. I remember plopping the sideboards on my dad's half-ton Ford pickup and just putting the horse in back of that and getting down to the fairgrounds. Or when the Lions Club would have a fair or a horse show in Derby Line, you'd ride the horse to the horse show and show all day, then you'd ride the horse back. So times certainly have changed, and the industry's growing.
Right. So what is the interest in horses and showing horses and competing? Well, that might be a good one for the girls, too.
Yeah, I can answer, but if the girls want to give that a try.
Jade, what's your interest in showing and competing?
I feel like it's good for the horse's brain to get out and see other horses in different places. And it's just fun, and you get to compete with other people and just have a fun-filled day with the horses.
Cassie? Pretty much the same. Yeah.
Now, do you both compete as well?
No,
Those days are long gone. I have my own farm, Jacob Stables, and I am an instructor and a trainer. But yeah, those days, do as I say, now.
Now, where's your stable?
Up on the Holland Road.
Right up in Jacobville?
Right up in Jacobsville. Yeah. Right up at the homestead.
Yeah.
and I have the pleasure of supporting my daughter as she horse shows and be a boarder at Jacob Stables.
Yeah, I've been to a few with Carissa and Lexi. I think most of them were down in Hardwick.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we go down there, and it seems like a real fun time. Not the perfect place for a guy who's intimidated by horses, big things.
Yeah.
I've never spent any time around horses, and so I love watching these young people, even far younger than them, leading these big things along, and just like puppies.
Right. And so like when you ask the question, what's the appeal?
Right.
Why do you have horses? Why do you want to show horses? And I think it's a whole big package of bonding with such, an amazing animal, such a spirited animal, or an animal with a lot of spirit, and knowing that you can accomplish what you can accomplish. We learn a whole different way of communicating. These children are learning an amazing work ethic and putting the needs of these horses, sometimes before their own needs, to make sure they're blanketed right and fed right when, it's 20 below, and, are they taken care of before I go in the house to warm up my feet and warm up the soup and stuff. So there's a certain calling with horses.
Right. It's a, for the most part, it's also a long time commitment.
It's a way of life.
Because how long does a horse live?
Well, they're living longer now. They're like dogs, and I feel that the smaller horses live longer lives like a small dog, and an older horse, you know, barring any like sickness, disease, or condition, you know, you can still ride them up until their 30s. I have a halflinger pony mare that we still give lessons on at my barn, who's 32 years old. She has no molars, but she lives on, you know, a nice mash, and we've got, you know, a great grain source right here in town that I work closely with. And so, you know, if you take care of your animals, they're with you for a long time.
Right. Now, are they girls? Do you know your do you really know your horses? Like, do you do you understand what they want, and do they understand what you expect of them?
Not quite, because we're different than horses, and horses are different than us, so we can't quite understand. But most of the things we should know, but not all of it we do.
It depends, because sometimes the horses can get confused of what you're asking them.
Right.
So makes it easier for them if you're more clear.
Right.
And like they act up sometimes, and horses have bad days too.
Right.
So it's,
And what I've seen and what I've heard, and as I said, I am not a horse expert, but they see things a little differently than we do, and the strangest things will spook them, or if you take things out of order, or is that true?
yeah.
Yes.
What do we know about horses' brains?
That they can't see right behind them or right in front of them.
Right, and that's their vision. But what have I told you about the horses, or what have we discussed about the horses' brains? How many brains do they have? They have two.
Right. Oh,
They have a left brain and a right brain.
yeah.
And they've got their reasoning side, and their right brain's very flight or fight. And if we've got the proper training tools to work them through that,
Right.
they'll give you their heart and soul.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I've watched. I've even watched a couple horses down here that just down at the Gymkhana down in Hardwick. They just all of a sudden they'll see something that is totally normal, but they're obviously seeing something different.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just them coming at it at a different angle.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
So, all right. So, how can, if people want to take part in helping, you know, whether it be individuals, whether it be businesses?
Yep, they can reach out to Julie and I, and we can give our phone numbers.
Yeah.
And another place that we've created a Facebook page. It's called the Orleans County Fairgrounds Horse Barn Rebuild. That's a good way. You can send us a message and contact us. Let us know if you'd be interested in sponsoring our project.
Right. And what is your number, phone number?
My number is 802-323-7820.
And mine's 802-487-4345.
Right. I suspect you're going to get some businesses on board, especially animal related, like grain and farm thing. Have you talked to Senator Ingalls and seeing if there's any funds for?
Not yet, but that's a
Really good
source.
idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
He might at least be able to. He might be able to direct you, at least in the direction of some resources.
That would be good.
That's
We
a
are
great
working
idea.
with a grant writer too.
Yep.
So I know there are some grants out there, but we also are doing fundraisers too throughout the year, and some of those are this fall. In fact, we're doing at the fairgrounds on Friday night. We're doing an extreme trail challenge, which is really fun, really good way to test your horse's competency on the trail and around those strange objects and everything. And that's on September 8th. And then, so all proceeds from that will go to the barn rebuild. Same with the open show at the fair. That's the Sunday, and that's September 10th. And then we're doing a horseback ride-a-thon. on Saturday. Is it a Saturday? September 23rd. And all of those fundraisers, those are all going. Those events are all proceeds are going right to the barn rebuild.
Right. But how much money did you say you're gonna need again?
About 200,000.
$200, doable.
And we've already have quite a few pledges and donations, and the fairground actually controls the checkbook, and they've got the checkbook with the funds that we have in it already, and they're managing that for us, the treasurer.
Right. Okay, we're down to about 3 more minutes.
Okay.
What more would you like to?
Well, I would like to mention that if anybody wants to help us with this, if they could reach out and help us with, just doing a lot of the footwork and stuff. We are going to go to different businesses and different stuff. We don't want to ask the same people over and over, but if anybody has any other ideas
Right.
and want to come to us, we're more than willing to work with anybody.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Nope.
Girls, how would you like to finish this up? What are your hopes and dreams with this barn rebuild?
That we can get the horses to a safe grounds and that they can stay safe and we can stay safe with the facilities.
Same with you, Cassie?
Yeah.
I'd like to see more shows and events.
Right.
I'd like to be able to open up that barn and maybe we can use it for something other than just horses. Maybe something agricultural can use it
Right.
in some other aspect.
Right.
But that's what I would like to see
Right.
to bring and build the fair back up.
Yeah, I'm hoping that hopefully the fair can, and come back to life because. Now, did you go there a lot when you were younger?
I did, yeah.
And of course, times have changed, anyways, and it's everything's having to evolve. So, and hopefully, it's able to, to become what it used to be, but in a new way. Because the old, just because it worked back then does not mean it's going to work now.
Correct. And it was primarily agricultural,
Right.
which still they're offering other stuff,
Right.
but there's so many small local farmers now
Right.
that are bringing their wares
Yeah.
and everything there. A lot of people put a lot of work into the fair.
Right.
So it's nice to see people, milling around the barns and asking questions and just taking advantage of this right in our backyard.
Yeah, and the thing is now, we don't have as many dairy cattle here now, but how many alpacas or
Yep.
llamas did you see growing up, or even camels?
None.
So in other words, the diversity of what we call agriculture now
Exactly.
that's certainly involved. I don't know if we probably still have emus around, don't we?
I think there's might be a few.
I know
Yeah.
there used to be some up
Up
around
my
your,
way.
your neck of the woods.
Pat Goodall
Yeah.
that had emus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and to support your local 4-H too is so important. These kids work hard all year long. Like I said, they do a lot of community service. It's not just about riding their horses.
Right.
They're out there. They're visiting nursing homes. They're supporting maybe family in needs. This year they fundraised and bought Christmas presents for one family. So they do a lot. And I think that's really important. So, any support, we're here for the kids
Right.
and future educational programs.
Okay. Well, we've just run out of time. But do you have any final words?
Get in touch with us.
Yep, reach out.
Anything else, girls? Well, thank you all
Thank
for
you.
coming on the show, and thanks for your good work. I think you're going to succeed. I know $200,000 is a lot, but I think it's doable.
I think it's doable too.
Right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Scott.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.